Hey, hello guys, this is Utkarsh Grover presenting you the question number 3 from Probabilities First Assignment. So, the question number 3 states that a digital signal 1 or 0 is transmitted through a noisy channel. The received data may be different from the signal sent out. Suppose the transmitter sends out 0 with probability of 0.6 and 1 with probability of 0.4. When 0 is transmitted, the receiver receives 0 with probability zero point 0.7 and 1 with probability zero point 0.3. When 1 is transmitted, the receiver receives a 0 with probability zero point 0.2 and 1 with probability zero point 0.8. Okay, so this is the question. Uh, we have made a small diagram of the following question, which states when 0 is transmitted and the probability of getting a 0 is 0.7. When 0 is transmitted, the probability of getting a 0.1 is 0.3. When 1 is transmitted, the probability of 0 getting a 0 is 0.2, and when 1 is transmitted, the probability of getting 1 is 0.8. The probability of transmission of 0 is 0.6 and the probability of transmission of 1 is 0.4. So here we go. The first question, find the probability that the data 0 is received. So our first question states that find the probability of reception of 0. So here we go. Probability of receiving 0 is probability of receiving a 0 equal to probability of receiving a 0 when 0 is transmitted into probability of 0 transmission of 0 plus probability of receiving of 0 when probability of 1 is transmitted into probability of transmission of 1. That is probability of receiving a 0 when 0 is transmitted. So probability of receiving a 0 when 0 is transmitted is 0.7. So we get a 0.7 into the probability of transmission of t0. So the probability of transmission of t0 is 0.6. So we get a 0.7 into 0.6 plus probability of transmission of 0, probability of receiving reception of 0 given probability of transmission of 1, probability of receiving a 0, probability of transmission of 1, that is 0.2. So probability of receiving a 0 when probability of transmission is 1, that is 0.2 into probability of transmission of 1 into probability of transmission of 1. So here we see that the probability of transmission of 0 is 0.6. So 1 minus 0.6, that's 0.4. So we get probability of transmission of 1 is 0.4, that is equal to 0.5. So we have this and we have this. So when we add both of these, we get a 0.5. So this is the answer of this is the solution of our first question. The second question states that find the probability of error, that is the probability that 1 is received when 0 is transmitted or 0 is received when 1 is transmitted. So question 2 asks for the probability of error. That means when we transmit 1, what is the probability of getting a 0, and when we transmit 0, what is the probability of getting a 1. So the probability of error is equal to probability of receiving a 0 when 1 is transmitted into probability of transmission of 1 plus probability of receiving 1 given 0 is transmitted into probability of transmission of 0. It means what is the probability of getting a 0 when we transmit 1 into probability of transmission of 1 plus what is the probability of getting 1 when 0 is transmitted into probability of transmission of 0. That becomes 0.3 probability of transmission of 1, receiving of 0 when 1 is transmitted. 0 when 1 is transmitted, probability of receiving a 0, that is 0.2 into probability of transmission of 1, that is 0.4, and probability of receiving a 1 when 0 is transmitted and receiving a 1 is 0.3, and probability of transmission of 0 is 0.6. So we multiply the following and we get the answer 0.26. So this is the third question. Thank you very much.